Welcome back, students. In the last lecture, we have completed solid state. Hope you all are doing the numericals simultaneously. I suggest when you complete one topic, do 3 to 4 numericals related to that topic. Then the concept will be more clear. Now, we will start with our second chapter of your textbook, that is solutions. It is the easy one. In this lecture, we will do the introduction to the solution, types of solution. We will try to understand the concept of concentration and solubility and various terms used to express the concentration, and also the factors affecting solubility, that is the nature of solute and solvent, pressure and temperature. Let's get started with the topic. Now, the life is possible on the earth because of air surrounding us, which contains gas called oxygen. Another important thing is water. Water of the sea is not pure. It contains sodium chloride, magnesium chloride, calcium salts, and also the dissolved oxygen and carbon dioxide in it. The body fluids that is used for the various life processes like respiration, circulation, etc., and the various type of chemicals used in the chemical industries. What are these? Air, water, body fluids and chemicals? These are all solutions. These solutions play a very important role in our life. हमने 11th स्टैंडर्ड में मैटर पढ़ा था और मैटर को कैसे क्लासिफाई करते हैं वो भी पढ़ा था. यहाँ पे मैटर को थ्री कैटेगरीज में क्लासिफाई किया था, दैट इज़ एलिमेंट्स, कंपाउंड्स एंड मिक्सचर. एलिमेंट्स किसको बोलते हैं? एलिमेंट्स आर द प्योर सब्सटेंस विच कैन नॉट बी ब्रोकन डाउन इनटू सिंपलर सब्सटेंस. एक ही तरह के एटम से बने होते हैं, जैसे सोडियम मेटल हुआ, ऐसे कई नॉन मेटल्स हुए, मेटलॉइड्स हुए, ये सब हम लोग एलिमेंट्स के कैटेगरी में रखते हैं. कंपाउंड्स किसको बोलेंगे? कंपाउंड्स आर द ऑल्सो प्योर सब्सटेंस which cannot be broken down into simpler substance by ordinary chemical changes, है ना. तो कंपाउंड्स जैसे H2O, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड, ये सब क्या होते हैं? कंपाउंड्स होते हैं जो हमेशा फिक्स रेशो में कंबाइन होते हैं. जैसे H2O, तो इसमें क्या होगा? 2 एटम्स ऑफ हाइड्रोजन और 1 एटम ऑफ ऑक्सीजन. तो ये जो रेशियो है ये हमेशा फिक्स रहेगा. और थर्ड कैटेगरी हमने पढ़ा था वो था मिक्सचर्स. मिक्सचर्स आर compounds which mixtures are the substance in which 2 or more substances are not in a fixed proportion and they can be separated by the physical methods. तो मिक्सचर्स में क्या होता है? केमिकल कॉम्बिनेशन नहीं होता है. फिजिकली जिस चीज़ को हम लोग मिक्स कर सकते हैं और उसका रेशियो भी फिक्स नहीं होता है, तो इस तरह के जो सब्सटेंस को हम लोग मिक्स करते हैं उसको हम लोग बोलते हैं मिक्सचर. Mixtures can be further divided into 2 types, that is the homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixtures. अभी homogeneous किसको बोलेंगे? Homogeneous mixtures are those in which the molecules of the constituent, that is the solute and solvent, are uniformly mixed throughout the bulk. ठीक है, इसमें जो है, जो भी सॉल्यूट और सॉल्वेंट का पार्टिकल्स है वो थ्रू आउट द जो भी सब्सटेंस है वहाँ पे क्या होगा? इक्वली डिस्ट्रीब्यूट रहेगा. एंड इन हेट्रोजीनियस mixtures the molecules of the constituents are not uniformly mixed throughout the bulk. Okay, so these are the major type of mixtures, that is the homogeneous mixtures and the heterogeneous mixture. Now, can you give some examples of homogeneous mixtures? Yes, डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ प्योरे, ऑरेंज जूस, है ना, जो डेली बेसिस पे हम लोग जितने भी चीज़ें देखते हैं जिसमें आप उसको सेपरेटली नहीं बता सकते हो। ऑरेंज जूस में आप नहीं बता सकते हो कि ये ऑरेंज का पल्प है, यहाँ पर वाटर है, यूनिफॉर्मली पूरे इसमें मिक्स होता है। और उस बल्क में से कहीं भी आप थोड़ा भी पार्ट जिसमें उसमें निकाल के देखेंगे तो उसमें आपको क्या मिलेगा, सब कंपोनेंट्स आपको सेम मिलेगा। तो ये जो कंपोनेंट्स है सॉल्यूट और सॉल्वेंट का, ये हमेशा क्या होगा, यूनिफॉर्मली डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड रहेगा। नाउ कैन यू गिव सम ऑफ द एग्जांपल्स ऑफ heterogeneous mixtures that you can see in the daily life? यस, यहाँ पे हम लोग क्या सैलेड्स यूज़ करते हैं, डिफरेंट टाइप का हम लोग जो भी वेजिटेबल्स घर में बनाते हैं। यदि आप लोग ने आलू छोले बनाया तो उसमें भी आप छोले कहाँ हैं, आलू कहाँ है, आप लोग बता सकते हो। ठीक है, कस्टर्ड में यदि आपने फ्रूट्स डाला या कुछ अलग से डाला तो वो आपको क्लियरली दिखेगा कि वहाँ पे कस्टर्ड का पार्ट अलग है, उसमें फ्रूट्स जो एम्बेडेड है वो अलग से आपको दिख रहा है ना। तो ये सब आप लोग का जो डेली इसमें जिसमें आप बता सकते हो कि आज उसको आप अलग कर सकते हो, तो उसको हम लोग क्या बोलेंगे, heterogeneous mixtures. Now hope it is clear what is homogeneous mixtures and what are heterogeneous mixture. तो इस चैप्टर में हम लोग होमोजीनियस मिक्सचर्स के बारे में पढ़ेंगे। Now, solutions are a special type of homogeneous mixture. It is composed of two or more substances. In such a mixture, solute is a substance dissolved in another substance called solvent. Here you have to remember one thing, solvent is always taken in excess in which the solute is dissolved. Now, these solutions can be further classified into three types based on the size of the solute particles. The number one, that is the true solution. Here the particle size is less than 10 raised to power minus 7 centimeter. Second type is the colloidal solution. Here the particle size is between 10 raised to power minus 7 centimeter to 10 raised to power minus 4 centimeter. And the third type is the suspension. Here the size of the particle is greater than 10 raised to power minus 5 centimeter. In this chapter, we will concentrate on true solutions. Hope you have understood the term solute and solvent. Now I will give you one example. Can you tell me which one will be solute and which one will be solvent? Number one, that is lemonade. You also call it as nimbu pani. The second is soda. The third one is air, and the fourth one is 18 karat gold. Now you see, in lemonade, that is also called as nimbu pani, here which one is in excess? Water is in excess, so it will be called as solvent. Now here the sugar and lemon juice is mixed. This will be called as solute. In case of soda, here carbon dioxide and sugar is dissolved in water. So here water is taken in excess. So here water will be the solvent. In case of air, do you recall, every time we call air is a mixture of gases. Now in this, which one will be the solvent? Here 78% of the air is nitrogen. So the excess here, it is nitrogen. So it will act as a solvent, and oxygen, hydrogen and carbon dioxide will act as a solute. Now you know 24 karat gold is a 24 karat gold is a pure gold. Okay, so this will be a pure substance. If 18 karat gold is taken, that means there should be some amount of other metal like nickel, copper, etc. Okay, so this will be called as a solution. Now here gold is taken in excess, so it will act as a solvent, and the substance which is added in small amount, that is copper or nickel, it will act as a solute. In this table, one more thing is there. If you observe it carefully, here you will see some are gases, some are liquids and some are gases, solids, liquids and gases. Now, we generally think that the solution is either solid dissolved in a liquid or it is a mixture of two liquids. But there are other type of solutions like the solute and solvent may be in any three states, that is the solid, liquid or gas. The solution thus may involve in any combinations. मतलब यहाँ पे solute और solvent solid, liquid या gases कोई भी थ्री स्टेट्स में हो सकता है, तो भी हम लोग उसको सॉल्यूशन बोलेंगे. जैसे कि आपने एयर में देखा दोनों ही गैशियस फॉर्म में थे. गोल्ड के एग्जाम्पल में आपने देखा दोनों ही सॉलिड फॉर्म में थे. क्लियर? सो बेस्ड ऑन दैट देयर मे बी 9 such combinations as you can see in the table. Here in this first one, solid is the solute and the solvent is the liquid. That means solid dissolved in a liquid. Examples: sea water, benzoic acid in benzene. Here benzene will act as a solvent and benzoic acid as a solute. Second combination is the solid mixed in solid. Here both the solute and solvent are in solid state, like metal alloys, brass, bronze, etc. The third case here is solid is solute and it is dissolved in gas. Okay, so our example is iodine mixed in air. Fourth is liquid is the solute again dissolved in liquid. Here the solvent and solute both will be liquid. Example here given is gasoline and ethanol in water. Now this gasoline is a petrol only. Okay, some people say it as gasoline, but here one confusion is there. In gasoline it is the mixture of hydrocarbons. So here sometimes they are found in many grades. So whether it should be included in the solution or not, that depends upon the situation. The fifth is the liquid that is dissolved in solid. Here solid is in excess, okay, and the liquid is taken as a solute. So here the example is given of amalgam of mercury with metals as mercury in silver. Amalgams means here amalgam is the mixture of an alloy of mercury with the another. It is a blend or mixture. जब मेरकुरी के साथ कोई और मेटल मिलाते हैं तो एलॉय बनता है. तो इसको इलेक्ट्रोकेमिस्ट्री में भी हम पढ़ेंगे. कैलमल इलेक्ट्रोड में यूज होता है. इट इज ऑल्सो यूज्ड फॉर द डेंटल फिलिंग. ओके, नाउ द सिक्स्थ वन इज द liquid is the solute dissolved in gas. So here the example is chloroform in nitrogen. The seventh type is gas that is dissolved in liquid. Here liquid act as a solvent as we have seen in the carbonated water. Eighth one is the gas dissolved in solid. Okay, here the solid will be solvent and that gas will be the solute, that is hydrogen in palladium. Here palladium will be taken in excess. And the last one is the gases dissolved in gases. So as we have seen, air is a mixture of gases. In this chapter, we will focus on solutions of solid in liquid with some attention to the solution of gas in liquid. The solvent in most of the cases will be water. सॉल्यूशंस में दो टर्म समझना बहुत ज़रूरी है. एक है कॉन्सेंट्रेशन और दूसरा है सॉल्युबिलिटी. नाउ व्हाट इज़ कॉन्सेंट्रेशन? Concentration is the amount of solute dissolved in a specific amount of solvent to form a solution. Let us take an example of sodium chloride. यदि हम 1 लीटर वाटर लेते हैं, उसमें हम लोग सोडियम क्लोराइड, थोड़ा सा सोडियम क्लोराइड डिज़ोल्व करेंगे तो हम लोग क्या बोलेंगे? डाइल्यूट सॉल्यूशन बना है. इसी में यदि हम और बहुत सारा सोडियम क्लोराइड ऐड कर देंगे तो फिर हम लोग क्या बोलेंगे कि ये कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड सॉल्यूशन है. तो ये एक जनरल टर्म हुआ. पर इंडस्ट्रीज़ वगैरह में जो बड़े पैमाने में हमको सब जब यूज़ करना रहेगा तो ये जनरल टर्म डाइल्यूट और कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड हम लोग यूज़ नहीं कर सकते. उसके लिए हमको स्पेसिफिक टर्म चाहिए. तो यहाँ पर जो भी कॉन्सेंट्रेशन एक्सप्रेस करने के लिए जो जो हम लोग टर्म्स यूज़ कर सकते हैं, दैट वी हैव डिस्कस्ड. दिस कैन बी डन इन डिफरेंट वेज. लाइक फर्स्ट वन इज़ द परसेंटेज बाय मास. इसका हम लोग वेट ले सकते हैं. तो यहाँ पे परसेंटेज द मास of solute in grams dissolved in 100 gram of solution is called the percentage by mass. इसको हम कैसे कैलकुलेट कर सकते हैं? परसेंटेज बाय मास ऑफ सॉल्यूट दैट इज इक्वल्स टू मास ऑफ सॉल्यूट अपॉन मास ऑफ सॉल्यूशन दैट इज सम ऑफ सॉल्यूट एंड सॉल्वेंट इनटू 100. ये कैलकुलेट करेंगे तो हमको परसेंटेज बाय मास मिल जाएगा. ये मास जो टर्म है ये इंडिपेंडेंट क्वांटिटी है, ये टेम्परेचर पे डिपेंड नहीं करता है. जो भी मास से रिलेटेड जो भी टर्म है वो टेम्परेचर पे डिपेंड नहीं करता है, और वॉल्यूम से रिलेटेड जो भी टर्म रहेगा वो टेम्परेचर डिपेंडेंट होता है. द सेकेंड वन इज द परसेंटेज बाय वॉल्यूम. When both the components of the solution are in liquid phase, then the determinations of their precise volume is possible by using burettes and pipettes, as you all know. Hence, in such cases, the concentration of the solution may be expressed in terms of percentage by volume. तो इसको define कैसे करेंगे? It is defined as the ratio of number of parts by volume of solute to 100th part by volume of the solution. इसको आप इक्वेशन के रूप में समझिए. परसेंटेज बाय वॉल्यूम ऑफ सॉल्यूट दैट विल बी इक्वल्स टू what will be the formula? Volume of solute upon volume of solution into 100. यहाँ पर जैसे कि मैंने बोला वॉल्यूम जो है वो टेम्परेचर डिपेंडेंट क्वांटिटी है. Hence the percentage by volume changes with the change of temperature. The third one, that is the mole fraction. Now mole fraction is more the scientific way of expressing the concentration. How it is defined? It is defined as the mole fraction of any component of a solution is defined as the ratio of number of moles of that component present in the solution to the total number of moles of all the components of that solution. Here the sum of the moles fraction of all the components of the solution will be always unity. So mole fraction is the temperature independent quantity and it is unitless. Another important is the molarity. मोलारिटी आपने ये भी आपने 11th स्टैंडर्ड में पढ़ा है. मोलारिटी इज़ द वन ऑफ द बेस्ट वे ऑफ एक्सप्रेसिंग द कॉन्सेंट्रेशन ऑफ सॉल्यूशन. हाउ इट इज़ डिफाइंड? इट इज़ डिफाइंड एज द नंबर ऑफ मोल्स ऑफ सॉल्यूट प्रेजेंट इन 1 liter. Suppose molarity is equals to number of moles of solute upon the volume of solution in 1 liter. Okay, again it is a molarity is the temperature dependent. Okay, the one more is the molality. Molality means here it is also one of the best way of expressing the concentration. It is defined as the number of moles of solute dissolved in 1 kg of solvent. This 1 kg solvent is important. In case of molarity, we have taken the volume. Here we have taken the solvent, mass of the solvent in kg. Okay, again mass is the temperature independent, so here the temperature will not affect. So these are some of the important way of expressing the concentration of solutions. It is important from the numerical point of view. Another important thing is the solubility. Now what is solubility? It is the maximum amount of solute dissolved in a solvent under certain condition. The solubility of different solutes will be different. Let us try to understand with an example. Here 85 grams of potassium nitrate is dissolved in 100 gram of water at 55 डिग्री सेल्सियस. मतलब 55 डिग्री सेल्सियस पे 100 ग्राम में 85 ग्राम ऑफ पोटेशियम नाइट्रेट अच्छी तरह से पूरा डिजॉल्व हो जाता है. बट इफ वी टेक सोडियम क्लोराइड इन प्लेस ऑफ पोटेशियम नाइट्रेट, जब हम यहाँ पे सोडियम क्लोराइड लेते हैं तो सिर्फ 36 ग्राम ऑफ सोडियम क्लोराइड 100 ग्राम ऑफ वाटर पे डिजॉल्व होता है at the same temperature. मतलब क्या हुआ? Solubility of KNO3 and sodium chloride is different. Now I hope you have understood the term concentration and solubility. Now the extent to which a substance dissolves in a solvent varies greatly with different substances. It depends on the three important factors, that are nature of solute and solvent, temperature and pressure. Now let us discuss these factors one by one. Solutions can be classified into three categories depending on the amount of solute present in the given volume of solution. Suppose a solute is added to the solvent, it dissolves readily initially. At this stage, it will be called as unsaturated solution. The dissolution then slows down if more amount of solute is added. If we continue the addition of solute, then the dissolution stops. The solution at this point is said to be saturated. A dynamic equilibrium can be reached where the number of solute molecules leaving the crystals to pass into the solution is equal to the number returning from the solution to the crystal. Here the rate of dissolution is equals to rate of crystallization. This saturated solution contains maximum amount of solute dissolved in a given amount of solvent at a given temperature. A solution containing greater than equilibrium amount of solute is said to be the supersaturated solution, and this supersaturated solution is unstable and forms crystals. Now let us understand with this. In this beaker, here at 25 degrees Celsius, in a solution, a solute is added in a solvent. Here initially about 95 grams of it is dissolved. Here the dissolution is fast. At this stage it is called as unsaturated solution. After dissolving the maximum amount of solute, then the remaining solute begins to settle down. At this stage it is called as saturated solution. Now here more and more solute goes into the settles at the bottom. Now what will happen if we increase the temperature? At this stage, if we increase the temperature, more and more solute will be dissolved. Here what will happen? It will get converted into a super saturated solution. Here more and more solubility, if you increase the temperature, solubility will increase and the solutes will dissolve. Okay. Now if you cool down slowly, what will happen? At this stage, initially it will have all the solute will be dissolved in the solution. At this stage, it will be called as the supersaturated solution. And after some time, because it is unstable, after some time a precipitate will be formed and it will settle down in the form of precipitate, and again after some time what will happen? It will get converted into a saturated solution. Now in the next slide you can see the relation between the concentration and the solubility. If you can see in the chart, here in the first column the temperature is given, in the second column concentration, and third is the solubility, and last is the nature of the solution. Here if you see, temperature is maintained constant. Suppose a substance is taken or solute is taken whose solubility is 330 grams. That means 330 gram maximum amount the solute that can be dissolved in a solvent, in a given solvent, will be 330 gram. Okay, that is the solubility. Okay, now initially what will happen? If we add 200 gram of solute, that means the concentration will become 200. Here the solution will be called as unsaturated. That means if concentration is less than solubility, the solution will be unsaturated. Suppose if we go on adding the solute, let us make it to 330 gram. At this stage if you find the solubility is 330 and we are adding 330 gram only, that means concentration is equal to solubility. At this time the concentration is in equilibrium. At this stage it will be in equilibrium stage, and this point it will be called as the saturated solution. Now if we go on adding the solute, let it make it to 1250 gram. Okay, now the concentration is greater than solubility. At this time what will happen? It will become a supersaturated solution, and this will favor the precipitation. Now hope you have understood the concentration and the relationship between the concentration and the solubility. The extent to which a substance or a solute dissolves in a solvent depends upon the nature of solute and solvent. Let us see how. We know there is a intermolecular force of attraction between the solute molecules, and there is a intermolecular force of attraction between the solvent molecules also. When the solutes are dissolved in solvent, there is an interaction between the solute and the solvent molecules. When this intermolecular force of attraction between the solute and the solvent molecules are strong, then the substance is easily soluble in that solvent. Generally, the compounds with the similar chemical characters are more readily soluble in each other than those with entirely different chemical characters. There is a saying that like dissolves like. Thus, substances having similar intermolecular forces are likely to be soluble in each other. In the 11th standard, we have studied the different type of interaction. That was the dipole-dipole interaction, dipole-ion dipole interaction, and the induced dipole interaction, dispersion forces, etc. Generally, polar solutes dissolve in polar solvents. This is because in this solute, solvent and solvent interaction are all of similar magnitude. If you remember, we have studied the example of sodium chloride dissolved in water. Can you say which type of interaction was that? Yes, that was the ion dipole interaction. In this type of interaction, as you can see in the figure, each sodium ion is surrounded by 6 molecules of water. Similarly, each chloride ion is also surrounded by 6 molecules of water. Here, the strong ion dipole interaction of sodium and chloride ions with water, hydrogen bonding between the water molecule, and ion-ion interaction between the sodium and chloride ions are comparable. So, the sodium chloride is easily soluble in water. Now, the second is the non-polar solutes are soluble in non-polar solvents. Here we can take the example of cholesterol is a non-polar solvent. Cholesterol is a non-polar solute which can be dissolved in a non-polar solvent like benzene. In your textbook, one question is given, why naphthalene dissolves in benzene but not in water. Can you say why? Now, naphthalene is insoluble in water because it is a non-polar. It cannot participate in the dipole-dipole interaction or hydrogen bonding with water. Similarly, sugar dissolves in water. The dissolution of sugar in water is due to intermolecular hydrogen bonding between sugar and water. Effect of temperature on solubility depends on enthalpy of solution. Now, what is this enthalpy? The amount of heat absorbed or released when the solute dissolves in the solvent is known as heat of solution or enthalpy. If water is used as a solvent, then the term heat of hydration or enthalpy of hydration can be also used. Now, when a solute is dissolved in a solvent, in that heat is either absorbed or released. When the heat is absorbed, then the process is known as endothermic, and here the delta H will be positive. Now, when delta H is positive, that means the solution side, the temperature will be less. Now, in the second case, when the solute is dissolved in solvent, if heat is released during the process, then that is known as exothermic process. Here, the delta H will be negative. And here, the solution side, the temperature will be more. Now, this Le Chatelier principle can be used to decide the effect of changing the temperature or the pressure of a saturated solution at equilibrium. Now, what is Le Chatelier principle? It states that if we change the concentration, pressure, volume or temperature at equilibrium, then this equilibrium will oppose the change. ओके, सपोज एक रिएक्शन है जहाँ दो रिएक्टेंट्स रिएक्ट करके प्रोडक्ट बना रहे हैं. वहाँ पर एक इक्विलिब्रियम स्टेज आएगा जहाँ पे रेट ऑफ फॉरवर्ड रिएक्शन विल बी इक्वल टू द रेट ऑफ बैकवर्ड रिएक्शन. इफ समहाउ दिस इक्विलिब्रियम इज डिस्टर्ब्ड या कॉन्सेंट्रेशन को बढ़ा के या प्रेशर, वॉल्यूम, टेम्परेचर, ये यदि कोई इसमें से कोई चीज़ हम लोग चेंज करेंगे तो इक्विलिब्रियम डिस्टर्ब हो जाएगा और वहाँ पर स्ट्रेस क्रिएट होगा. तो ये स्ट्रेस को वो सिस्टम क्या करेगा, ये स्ट्रेस को ओवरकम करने की कोशिश करेगा. तो इसी को हम लोग ली चैटिलियर प्रिंसिपल बोलते हैं. नाउ हाउ इट इज अप्लाइड हियर. व्हेन द टेम्परेचर चेंजेस, ओके, यहाँ पर solubility of a solute decreases with the increasing temperature if delta H is negative. मतलब यदि एक्सोथर्मिक प्रोसेस में हम लोग टेम्परेचर बढ़ाएंगे तो क्या होगा, solubility will decrease. In second case, solubility of a solute increases with the increasing temperature if delta H is positive. यदि प्रोसेस एंडोथर्मिक होगा, ऐसे केस में यदि हम टेम्परेचर बढ़ाएंगे, द solubility of the solute will increase. It is important to understand that there is no direct connection between solubility and exothermic or the endothermic process. For example, the dissolution of calcium chloride in water is an exothermic process, and that of ammonium nitrate is a endothermic process. But the solubility of both these increases with the temperature. Now, the solubility and temperature curve is given in your textbook. Let us go through that. In this figure, if you clearly see, in the y-axis there is a solubility is given, that is the solute is dissolved in 100 grams of water. Here solvent is same and solutes are changed. And in the x-axis temperatures are given. If you see, the solubility of sodium bromide, sodium chloride and KCl changes slightly with the temperature. They are almost straight. In the second, solubilities of potassium nitrate, sodium nitrate and potassium bromide increases appreciably with the increasing temperature, as you see in the curve. Now, the solubility of sodium sulfate decreases with the increase in the temperature. Now, the solubility of gases in water usually decreases with the increase in the temperature. When gases are dissolved in water, here you know the gases, the kinetic energy of the molecules are very high. When the gas molecules in liquid phase are, when gases are dissolved in water, the gas molecules in the liquid phase are condensed. The condensation is an exothermic process. So the solubility of gases in water must decrease as the temperature is raised. Pressure has no effect on the solubilities of solids and liquids as they are incompressible. However, pressure greatly affects the solubility of gases in liquid. The solubility of gases increases with the increasing pressure. The quantitative relationship between gas solubility in a liquid and pressure is given by Henry's law. Now, what is Henry's law? It states that the solubility of a gas in a liquid is directly proportional to the pressure of the gas over the solution. मतलब प्रेशर बढ़ाएंगे तो solubility बढ़ेगी. Here S is the solubility of a gas and it is expressed as moles per liter, and P is the pressure of the gas that is expressed in bar. And Kh is the proportionality constant called as Henry's law constant. Now, the unit of Henry's law constant is moles per liter bar. Now, can you tell some of the applications of Henry's law? As we all know the soft drink. Before sealing the bottle of the soft drink, it is pressurized with a mixture of air, carbon dioxide saturated with water vapor. Because of high partial pressure of carbon dioxide, its amount dissolved in soft drink is higher than that of the solubility of carbon dioxide under normal conditions. When the bottle of the soft drink is opened, excess dissolved carbon dioxide comes out with effervescence. There are some exceptions to Henry's law also. Gases like ammonia and carbon dioxide do not obey Henry's law. The reaction is that these gases the reason is that the gases reacts with water. Ammonia reacts with water to form ammonium ion and hydroxyl ion, and carbon dioxide reacts with water to form carbonic acid. Because of these reactions, ammonia and carbon dioxide gases have higher solubilities than expected by Henry's law. Here one more interesting thing to note, that oxygen gas have very low solubility in water. However, its solubility in blood is very high. This is because of the binding of oxygen molecules to the hemoglobin present in the blood. And one more applications of Henry's law is that the tank used by the scuba divers are filled with air diluted with helium to avoid the toxic effect of high concentration of nitrogen in the blood. Now let us summarize the topic. In this lecture we have learned how the matter is classified into three types, that is elements, compounds and mixture, and these mixtures are further classified into homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixture. We have also learned that the solution is a homogeneous mixture of two or more components whose composition can be varied. We have also seen the various type of solutions depending upon the states of the solute and solvent. Now we have also learnt the concentration, the term concentration and solubility. And how the concentration can be expressed in percentage, molality, molarity, molar fraction, etc. We have also learned how the various factors affects the solubility. That is the nature of solute and solvent, which purely depends upon the intermolecular force of attraction between the solute and the solvent molecules, temperature and pressure. Hope you all are growing by learning. Thank you.